watching the film. What'd you think of Justin?
Oh, there were, a bunch of really good things, and there probably a lot more to clean up than I probably initially anticipated. Just some little things that we could do footwork-wise, drift into the pocket a little bit. Did a little bit more hopping on his drops, and what I think what's good for him. Better rhythm, step type things, but made a bunch of really big time throws, which that's why you put up the numbers you do that way.
USC's defense has done a lot better job in October of making sure quarterbacks aren't making their completions. What have you seen out of the Trojan defense?
Well, they on video, they're really good all over the place on defense. The front four can rush at a high rate. They're really explosive off the ball. Those two corners are as good as you're going to face anywhere in the country. They're both big and physical, can run, don't get run by, stay on top of things really well, very disciplined, really good cover guys. So it kind of it does for a lot of teams we've seen is a lot of the outside guys are being kind of eliminated from the kind of the pass game, and then you have to rely on the inside guys, and then they do a good job of funneling that to the safeties and the linebackers. So their scheme is really good. Coach Pendergast has been around for a long time in this conference. He knows people. Knows how to defend things, but they put themselves in a position to be successful, and then they have really good players to do it with.
I know you guys are more focused on what USC's defense is bringing, but Sam Darnold's another true freshman quarterback. I don't think anyone thought that the Oregon SC game was going to be a battle of the true freshmen. Do you look at him at all and what he's been able to do?
I've seen it on video some because we've had him on a couple times, and I've seen a couple games with them and everything. But no, he's done a great job. I've met him in high school. He's a really talented, big athletic kid. He can really throw the ball very well. So. Look forward to seeing how our guy matches up with him.
Everyone talks about the 489 passing and tying the school record, but what were you most impressed with after you watched the film with his performance that maybe the common eye doesn't pick up on?
Well, it was really probably the amount of completions that he put us into, making decisions, a lot of pre-snap decisions of where to go with the football, so he could kind of guarantee completion. He completed such a high percentage of his routes, and then on top of that, we still had some more that very easily could have been completed. We could have thrown a few better balls, but for the most part, our guys don't. We had more drops in that game than we've had probably all year. But just his ability to get us into completions, which that's what we needed in that game, was kind of keep the chains moving, keep us moving down the field and everything. So that's really what I was most impressed with, was everything he did pre-snap to kind of find good completions. And then his reaction to when he went back and he didn't like what he saw, he kind of made a quick decision to get vertical and got really positive, kind of 3 to 5 yards on a bunch of short little scrambles, but those pay off, because all of a sudden now it's 2nd and 5, or that takes a 3rd and 9 to makes it a 2nd and 9. All of a sudden it's 3rd and 4, which is a lot more to play with.
Would you rather see a high completion percentage or see him take a few shots downfield and miss a few ones?
I like high completion percentage and that, but getting shots down the field would just, it opens it all up underneath that way. We only had a couple kind of downfield shots in that game. Hit the one to Jalen down there, missed the one to DC. We just could have let him a little bit farther across the field, give him a little better chance to come down with that and everything. But being able to get the ball vertical is always critical, because that helps open up all that short to intermediate stuff, and then we've done a pretty good job with the intermediate stuff. The short stuff, we should complete at a high rate, which I think we're doing that at a pretty good chunk right now, but those intermediate throws have been really a plus for us.
Justin made a couple great throws on the run in that game. How is he able to throw the ball downfield so well at such a young age?
Really, he's naturally has a really nice release. It's pretty compact for being such a tall guy with long arms and that, but spins it very well. But he gets his feet, because of his athleticism. He's more athletic than people probably ever give him credit for, but he kind of gets his feet in a good position that he can kind of torque and throw the ball. And he throws on the run very well. We've done kind of our naked game with him quite a bit since he became the starter. And then what he's able to do kind of when he breaks the contain is looking for that, which he hit the one the other day, was really nice down the field. Most all the other times he kind of broke contain, it was more of he broke it and kind of took off and then got positive yards for us.
He mentioned getting more reps with the first receivers on Sunday as something that will help his game develop more and more. Are you seeing that as he's getting more and more starts, more and more runs in practice with the ones that chemistry develop and factor in on Saturdays?
Oh yeah, and I think it's the repetition of doing it over and over and over again, and as the guys kind of get back to being full strength, that they're able to get more of the practice reps too, because we've had that during the weeks, which it's what you deal with during the season. If a guy, we want to make sure they're able to play on Saturday, so if it cuts down their reps on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we do that to make sure we have them for Saturday and everything. But the more, as they get kind of back into being healthier and healthier, they get more reps on those practices. It gives him better timing, and all that's going to pay off on Saturdays for us.
You've mentioned before that Justin's been able to make kind of like leaps and bounds from week to week. Is there anything specific that you want him to work on this week so he can grasp that and make that?
Well, kind of the thing we did, probably the biggest negative we had in that last week's game, we took a few negative plays, sacks that we didn't need to. I mean, there were situations that, I mean, sacks are going to happen. We understand that, and then what you do is you analyze why they happen and everything, and there were 2, and I think really 3 of those the other day that I think we could have got rid of the football. And then instead of having a 9, 13, 14 play negative that puts you in a long third or long second, you're still sitting at a reasonable rate. So we talked about those things, and his scrambling has been a real plus, but also there's a time when you can't make every play out there, and that's just part of learning that and getting a feel for the guys you're playing against. And I mean, last week number 4 is a very athletic player. I mean, I asked him, do you think anybody you played with Sheldon was as athletic on the defensive line as number 4? He's like, no. I said, okay, so that's a learning curve for him to understand that you can't just make all those guys miss like you have in the past. So, and that's just that continuing to play. But us eliminating the negative plays, especially this week, I mean, they do a great job of getting you in long situations, and 3rd and long is really hard against what they can do coverage-wise.
Farrell Brown and other guys have said that Justin has that it factor to him. I mean, have you seen that, and kind of, I guess, what is that it factor if he possesses that?
I mean, it's kind of what you look for in every quarterback. It's kind of that innate ability that they make plays and they don't get rattled. They're always kind of looking. I mean, with him, his eyes are always kind of downfield, trying to make the big play without putting us in a bad position most of the time. But how he kind of carries himself in the pocket, doesn't get rattled, doesn't kind of lose composure and all those types of things, makes plays when they're there, and he's shown all those things up to this point. I mean, if you ask me if he has it, I think he does, and we got to keep getting better at it in that. But no, he's kind of got a feeling to him and a presence to him out there, how he plays, that you expect him to make plays.
What's it like having those senior tight ends out there back healthy for an offense and for Justin as well?
Well, it's I mean, for what we've kind of moved to a little bit offensively the last few weeks, because personnel-wise, I mean, we're running a lot of double tight end sets. So I mean, Johnny Munt and Farrow and Bayless are getting a ton of play. And they're the kind of the inside guys in a lot of our schemes in that way. And for the most part, that's a lot of times kind of the safety net for a quarterback, where he can dump the ball into. A lot of those are the kind of the shorter, more intermediate type routes. So, and those guys do a great job with their size and their physicalness to kind of give him space. So, and then go get the football for him. And I mean, they all catch the ball really well, and then they can do something after the fact. I mean, you saw Farrow, who most tight ends can't do what he does after he catches the football, and he doesn't always run away from people, but he always gains yards after. He's a positive guy. And then Johnny Munt catches one down the seam and runs away from people that way. So it's to have explosive tight ends that way, it's really a plus because of the size, catch range they have, and what they're able to do after they get the ball.
David, are there things that now you're asking Justin to do, given his 3 games, that he's obviously very confident that going to the Washington game, maybe had you limited the playbook? Is there things that, because he's shown that you can trust him, that you are allowing him to do, asking him to do more often now?
Yeah, I mean, we try to expand it each week as he feels more comfortable with, and it's a lot of times from play to play. Last week we did a lot of things where it's kind of a split type read, where it was right side, left side, so he could walk up and kind of say, okay, I'm going to read, I want to go to the left side, I want to go to the right side, by what they were giving him coverage-wise and what he leveraged to be able to get an easy completion. Whereas early on it was a lot more of our kind of, we call sweep reads, which was more of a kind of a sweeping from left to right or right to left, because it was more natural. He was really good at it to begin with, but now we're kind of able to add things in for him and ask him to do things, and then as he feels more comfortable with plays, constantly ask him, do you like this play? How do you feel about this play? Explain this play to me so I can get the full idea of what he knows about it. So the more he knows about it, the more chance he has to be successful with it.
Was there an instance last week where you thought, okay, that's a play he makes against Arizona State that he maybe wasn't against Washington, and that type of play where the left-right you're talking about?
Well, I think the play right before halftime, and it was a tight throw, but I think he knew exactly where everybody was on the play. We ran and threw it to Farrow kind of down the middle of the field. Farrow made a great catch on it, but he knew where the field safety was. And going in that Washington game, I mean, he might have known where the safety was in that game, but I don't know if he would have. And I mean, we had those in, but we were trying to be a little bit more kind of one-sided at that time for him, so he didn't have a lot to. It was basically, if you can throw a hitch, otherwise let's look at this double post concept. This week we had the double post, and we had kind of a man beater on the other side. They gave us zone. He knew exactly where he wanted to go with the ball, went back, set, and threw it. When he came off, I asked him, I go, "Did you see what the field safety was?" He goes, "Yeah, I knew I could get it in there, coach." And I said, "Okay, you were right." And that's part of being a quarterback. You write checks that everybody else has to cash. So you got to make sure you're being responsible and doing the right thing for that football.
You said Saturday that you'd never played a true freshman quarterback for any of your stops. Is this like a re-education for you in some ways too, of starting with a guy who's this young and bringing him through a game plan?
Well, it started off kind of that way. Now, I mean, we're not coming up on what are we on, game 8 or 9? I mean, it's been a long year. But at this point, it's just he's the starting quarterback, so we kind of go through our repetition of, I mean, Monday morning meetings, the same Monday morning meeting he's had since he's been here. Monday night's meeting tonight will be the same one we go through, just talking about SC's defense. Tomorrow morning we have a kind of a script on what we do in our meeting, so he can kind of get into his flow. We talk about it every week, and when we're done, is there anything else I need to do? Anything else we need to do better? Anything we need to do differently to help you prepare? So, the bottom line is, we want it when we kick off the ball on Saturday, he feels as prepared as he can be to go out and play his best game. So, he's getting kind of that stage. I mean, at this point, he's kind of just he's our experienced quarterback. With 3 starts under his belt, we kind of know what he is. I think he understands what we do offensively, and he does a great job of kind of grabbing onto the game plan each week.
Jake Hansen called Justin the silent assassin earlier today. Is that a pretty fitting nickname for him?
He's very silent. I mean, he doesn't talk unless he needs to. I mean, he's not an overly vocal guy that way. I mean, he's worked at kind of taking charge and making sure everybody's on the right page with things in his way and that way. And then the assassin part, I'm not sure about that, but I'll go with Jake on that.
But Jake was also saying that he actually kind of expects Justin to play at this high of a level against USC kind of moving forward. I mean, obviously he's a true freshman who's only had a couple of starts, but is that something you expect from him, to keep playing at this high level?
Oh yeah, I mean, our expectation is that he's going to keep getting better and better, and that's what the strive for. And I mean, I think that's what Justin's expectations are, that he's only going to, he knows how good he can play. Everybody's kind of seen what he can do, and that's now the expectation, that that's how he's going to play each week. And what we can do is just kind of continue to grow that way and keep getting better and better as we go.
David, where did the chocolate chip story kind of come? You guys bring cookies to the quarterbacks and holders on Fridays. Where did that sort of originate? Did you do that at Washington State too?
Actually, my wife makes the cookies, and she's done it for a long time. She actually started it back when we were at Missouri and everything. She'd make cookies for them, and at Missouri I handed them out Thursday night to the guys. Here it just worked out. In Washington State it was Friday when we got on the bus. I'd give it to the guy, my players, and then here it was just. And when we got here, she asked, she goes, "I'm still making cookies, right?" And I said, "Sure." They've appreciated it, enjoyed it, and my kids like kind of helping make them, and then making little signs for them. And each guy's kind of got their own favorite player, and they want to write the little sign for him, or like "Good luck, Lockie," or "Go Ducks," and those type of things. So they're very good cookies, and it's kind of for them to share with their teammates, which I think some of them do, and some of them keep them all. So.
Can she share the recipe? Or is this a secret recipe?
It is not a secret recipe, but Pillsbury makes a very fine frozen one that you just kind of put in there, and they cook up very nicely.
David, Justin's been called a throwback guy because he was a multi-sport athlete in high school, didn't necessarily do the heavy camp route. Can you kind of put that in context about his path getting here? Is that unusual these days with guys being more specialized, not only with playing just football, but also seeing, quarterback coaches in their off season? Is what Justin did, is that rare?
It's become a lot less common than it used to. I mean, him playing all the sports and kind of doing all the sports in his own, in that time frame. I mean, he played football in his football season, he played basketball in basketball season, he played baseball. And I think he probably did more baseball and basketball in the summers, because, I mean, that's what we all did when we were kids, because it's a lot easier to get 5 guys together, or a few guys and go out and play baseball and do those type of things. But I think that's what he kind of did throughout, and he didn't have the specific quarterback coach he went to for training. He didn't go to all the combines and the camps to kind of help himself in recruiting. And I mean, in that way, very much kind of the way it used to be and everything. But what it comes down to, I mean, all those things are great. And I mean, I know they did a thing last year on the NFL guys that were drafted, and of the whatever, 70% of them had personal quarterback training, which goes a long way to improving you as you're coming in as a freshman. But the bottom line is, good players are good players, and recruiting, we're going to find you wherever you're at, and that type of thing. But and then what his upside is so tremendous, because he hasn't been through a lot of this. So a lot of these drills that we do, sometimes we go through a drill and it was new to him, and now you can see when we do those drills in practice, he's really sharp and really crisp at them, because he's done them and everything. He's just going to keep getting better in his footwork and his mechanics and all those things. But all the other kind of training of a quarterback and all that, it helps guys and everything, but I don't think that's the only way to get there.
David, it seemed like for you the move from Missouri to Washington State was sort of you wanted to kind of reduce the burnout sort of the stress of the job. How do you kind of budget your time to make sure that you don't kind of get back into that same mentality? And I mean, are you doing anything differently day to day, taking on yoga or anything like that?
No, but I make sure I have my checklist on things I need to get done each day, and if I think there's something else we need to add to kind of our weekly checklist to get the quarterbacks prepared in that, I'll add it. And then Tyler Osborne's helped tremendously. I have a student assistant dentist who does an unbelievable job, and I trust those guys to do things so they can do that. But I make sure I'm always at home for breakfast in the morning. I give my kids every morning. I have breakfast with them before I come into work. I mean, today they didn't have school. They're here for practice when they can. Our schedule on Thursday and Friday is kind of when we have some open time, and I make sure Thursday afternoon I'm normally there picking up the kids from school with my wife. Friday the same way, and then Saturday with how we do things is, I mean, I actually been home on Saturday mornings, which I've never in my coaching career been home on a Saturday morning on a game day. And I mean, I've hung shelves in the garage before on a Saturday, which that's odd to me, but it works with how we do our schedule here. So I kind of make sure I have my kind of family time to make sure I'm doing the right things there, because I want to be a good husband and a good dad as much as I want to be a good quarterback coach.
People recognize you around town? Is that?
I do get noticed a little bit around town, and that I'm not sure why, but it kind of falls in that way.
Anything else?
Coach, have you seen the Halloween costume going on behind you right now?
No, I have not seen any Halloween costume behind me. Is there? Oh, okay.
David Yost. David Yost. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
This is a direct quote from one of your kids. I went over to your wife. She said, "He does not look like Daddy."
See, they can tell the difference.